Okay, good afternoon, people. This is Angela Power Disney with Angela's Caches. We hit some technical issues, so we're a little bit late coming on air, but I look forward to spending the next hour and 45 minutes in your company. I'm delighted to have John Urwin due to join me when we've got those technical issues worked out. For those of you that don't know, he's the author of a book called The 16, One Step Beyond. And he's, I think the movie rights were bought out to that, but I'm going to find out from him where that project is at. I think Sean Stone bought out the movie rights for that book. And it's a true life story of his time in the British Army and being recruited for an elite force, not just of assassins, but what a lot of people term super soldiers. And being trained with mind control, being trained with hypnosis, to do things that still baffle, you know, unless people are really, really familiar with that whole field, things that can't, you know, defense skills and combat skills that cannot be explained in normal terms. So John's in his late 70s, and I contacted him after seeing his work, I think on Miles Johnson's basis, and he's also been interviewed by Kerry Cassidy, and a lot of people have interviewed him. And I contacted him because a lot of things rang true with regard to my father's time in the military, and I shared about, you know, my thoughts and my. So I'm just really looking forward to touching base with John and seeing how much common ground there is and sharing his story and getting an update on it as well. He's an incredibly brave man. He's just brilliant. He says himself he's not an educated lad. He joined I think he was conscripted into the army at 18 for national service, never seen a television, very little education, just a clean living, naive young lad that was conscripted in a very dramatic way. So he's going to join us when his stepson has figured out the tech, which is great. And in the meantime, I'll just catch people up on. I'm not allowed to apologise. I have not yet got up to speed in terms of working off the CCN platform. I've been using Facebook and YouTube for my main platform for years now, and old habits die hard, but I haven't quite got up to speed yet in terms of doing a pre-show promotion and so on, but I'll get there. And I'm also, as I said last week, Biggie's working on a new website for me, which you know, is a whole new venture, and it's all exciting. With regard to other things I shared last week, gosh, I don't know about anybody else, but this has been a high drama week for a lot of survivors. I had shared about, oh look, we might have somebody joining the meeting. I'd shared about somebody, one survivor being threatened with eviction despite being on disability for bedroom tax arrears, and despite being willing to move to a smaller premises but not being allowed to. Because I want to welcome you. I think you're an absolute trooper, because I only asked you this morning, and this is your first time using Zoom, and believe me,
I hadn't time to put my makeup on or anything. You see,
and when I used Zoom the first time, it's just a new skill, and for us to be still learning new skills, well, you know, hats off. Thanks.
Well, I'm on Skype regular, and I don't have any problems. It just seems
no, it's just a new platform. But I'll just tell you a little bit about where you're on. It's an independent media, independent television channel called Conscious Consumer Network.
That's it. Okay.
They're very professional. They do live streaming, and then it goes over to YouTube and archives, and it's shared.
So it's pretty viral, then, isn't it?
So this is only my second show. You're my first guest, so I'm very honoured to have you.
Really?
Yeah, you're my first guest.
Okay, that's good. Well, I think it is. I'm not quite sure yet. We haven't heard of the repercussions of what I might have to say, you see.
Yeah, no. I've listened to quite a lot of your shows. I've listened to
I get, you know, these shows were actually, I didn't really say a great deal. Mainly I was trying to get in contact with certain people, you see.
I know, the 16, and so...
well, it wasn't actually the 16, it was people of higher standard, military, top military, and what have you, see?
The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is, is catch people up a little bit. I've listened to a few hours and I'm fascinated. I'm not just fascinated because it's so interesting. I've got an interest as well because my father was in the Royal Air Force. He's 89 now, and he was in the Air Force, and there's some similarities that I picked up on. But if you could just spend the first 10 minutes and just fill people in that maybe don't know your story, don't know your book, and just give us an overview of what it is, if that's all right with you. Yeah,
okay. Well, it all started, let's see, late 1957, when I was called up for national service. I wasn't going to go in for national service because I was a trainee mechanic, but my mother encouraged us to do that. Some buzzing noises going on.
Keep talking. I'm listening.
I tell you, there's this buzzing noise.
Oh, it might be my fan. I'll turn the fan off.
There's something buzzing all the time here. Right, okay. I'll go back again. 57, I was called up from the national service. My mum encouraged us to go into the army. She said it may be the only chance I have to see the world, you see, and I may be able to become a mechanic through the armed forces. So I went to join up went for my medical and what have you, put my name down to be as Royal Mechanical Engineers. Found myself in a working regiment called the Pioneers because they were short of people, and they just put you wherever they liked, apparently, to fill in gaps where they couldn't get people to join. So from then on, I went down to North Wales, Wrexham, North Wales, to do my training. The first 2 or 3 weeks, I believe, of my training, I used to go down to the gym on a regular basis because I never drank and I didn't smoke. And pals went, my colleagues, my pals at the time, they just went all to the naffy, and I didn't want that. So I used to go down to the gym every night. And on one occasion, when I was practicing in the gym, a sergeant came up to me and started talking to me about what was going on, and he was talking about the Middle East and what have you. And then he said, would I like to be in something different, more exciting? I said, yes, because I had no intentions to be in the regiment I'm in now. I wanted to be on a more active service, you see. He says, well, later on, you'll probably be contacted. Of course, don't forget, I'm an 18-year-old guy who spent 5 years at school. I had no idea really what he was on about. Do you understand?
Yeah, definitely.
So I was really confused. I just went along with him and just agreed with everything he said, really. Then it was a few days later, there was a massive airlift to the Middle East where 18,000 troops left, and I was supposed to go to Lebanon. On the trip there, we were flying in Dakotas, an aircraft called Dakotas. We were all sitting there with rifles and packs and things like that. On the way there, we developed engine trouble in one of the engines, and we landed in Malta. And they were talking about Cyprus. I had no idea where Cyprus was. No idea at all. In fact, I had no idea where bloody Malta was, never mind Cyprus. So anyway, we landed in Malta. Then I got put on another aircraft, and they said I was going to end up in Cyprus instead of Lebanon or Beirut. So we ended up in Cyprus. We had to make our own camp. It wasn't ready for us, so we had to make our own camp. At the end of the first week or so, we were told we could go down to the beach, a beach called Tunnel Beach at Piscobee. It was when we went down there was me and my two pals, and one of us had to carry a rifle with us. When I got on the beach, and while I was lying on the beach, I told them to go for a swim. I would just stay there, and until it were finished, and then I would go in later. As I was lying on the beach, I had my face covered, because of the sun. I wasn't used to that type of weather. Suddenly a shadow appeared, blocked the sun out. I looked at it and I saw just a figure. I couldn't see his face properly because of the sun behind his head. And he says, Geordie. And I said, yeah, that's me. He says, can you remember being approached when you were doing your basic training? And I had forgot all about it. Then I suddenly realized what he was talking about. And I said, yes, I do. Yeah, so what happens now? He says, well, he asked the same question. Would I like to do something more exciting? More dangerous, in fact, he said. If I remember correctly, of course, it's a long time ago. Anyway, from then on, I said, yes, I agree with what he said. He said, well, you'd be contacted again. So again, another couple of weeks had gone by. I was waiting to be contacted. Never seemed to happen. And at the time, I used to stammer. I had the stammer because my dad used to knock us about quite a lot. But I was a keep fit fanatic. Like I said, I didn't drink, so I didn't fit in with most of the lads anyway. So one morning, when we went on parade to give our duties, I was asked to go into the officers' mess. And I thought, this cannot be the exciting thing he was talking about, surely. So anyway, I ended up in the officers' mess as a head waiter, would you believe? And I couldn't understand why. And I thought, this cannot be this. I think they've been having me on here, you see. And the sergeant, the cook sergeant, wanted to know why I was there. I mean, how did I manage this? I said, look, I have no idea. None at all. So anyway, cut long story short, I had to stand at the head of the table reading off the menus, and I stammered. And one of the guys seemed to know something about it, one of these officers.
Yeah.
And he said something like, sing the damn thing.
Yeah.
So I wasn't quite sure what he meant. So I sort of sang it, if you like. And anyway, after a while, the stammer went completely. And as soon as the stammer went, like you say, cutting long story short, the sergeant come out, he says, you're out. I said, I'm out where? He says, you're out. Get out. He says, go back to camp. I thought, well, was that it? Was that the exciting bit? Was that the thrill? So anyway, I got back to camp, did 2 ordinary days again. I think it was something like that. I can't remember exactly. It's over 60 years now. I ended up on parade to go on works out, on different work parties. Got on this. I went to pick up a truck. They told us to go to the Remy depot. I sat in the truck waiting with my rifle for the driver. And the sergeant came up. He says, what the hell are you doing here? I said, I'm waiting for the driver. He says, you are the driver. I said, go, this cannot be right. I said, I'm supposed to have other people with us. I can't go out on my own. He says, yes, you can. I says, well, where am I going? He says, the ducks are there behind you. So I picked him up and I had to go to Larnaca. So on my way to Larnaca, which I had no idea where I was, to just put us on the right road, because there was only one road then. It's not like it is now. So I was on the road and I did see a sign saying Larnaca, and I just carried on going. And then standing on the side of the road with a Jeep not far away from them was the guy I met on the beach, Ken. And that's something I missed out because he said my name's Ken when I was on the beach. I drove past him. I thought it was a sort of a hold-up. I didn't see the Jeep immediately. So I went tearing past him in the cloud of dust. Then I recognized the face and I skidded to a halt. And then he came up to us and he says, right, Geordie, come with me. I says, do I bring the truck? He said, no, just leave it there. So took us in a Jeep, took us to the base of Trudis Mountain somewhere. I had no idea where I was going. And I kept on mentioning the truck. I said, what about the down truck? I'm responsible for that thing. He said, don't worry about it. It's taken care of. So anyway, that's to cut a long story short, that's what happened. I ended up in this dirty old hangar. It was fairly large. And inside were 3 men training. In a combat that looked really odd. And don't forget, I was rather naive. There was no televisions then. I had no idea what I was looking at. It could have been something that everybody did. I had no idea. I was really keen on what they were doing. And they took us up into this office at the end of this hangar, up a few stairs into this office. And he just sat and talked to us. But on the way in there, into that office, there was some turnips hanging on bits of string. I said, what on earth are they for? And they were just hanging there on string, you see, these turnips, big, large turnips. When I was sitting talking to Ken, he says, I can't remember exactly what he said, obviously, but it was something, well, this is it, Geordie. I never said this in the book, too much about it in the book, but he showed me, he said, this is what we want you to go through. So he showed me pictures of people in wheelchairs and people dead and things like that. What that was all about at the time, I had no idea. It was rather depressing. And it went from then, and I said, what about this combat? He says, oh, the machine. I says, what, am I here to learn that? And he says, yes. He says, but we'll have to put you through some kind of test. I says, oh, right. I said, whatever. So when I was sitting at the table, he told us to put my hands on the table and he was spinning this damn coin. Now, the coin wasn't any form of hypnosis. I mentioned that because at the time when the book first came out, if I told what really happened, the book would never have been published. It would never have been published. Wow. Because it was so far-fetched, you know, so unbelievable at that time. You know, you're talking about over 12 years ago now.
Yeah, yeah.
It wouldn't have been accepted in any way whatsoever.
Wow.
So anyway, so I had to miss nearly all this stuff out, you see?
Wow.
So anyway, to cut a long story short, I heard this noise, like a swishing sound. And I got up quickly and looked out the window, and all the turnips were broken to pieces. You know, they were just shattered. And when I looked at the 3 guys, I couldn't see how they did it. I just couldn't see how they did it because they had nothing in their hands when I looked out the window. So I sat down. He says, don't worry about that. He says, you're going to be learning all this. I says, oh, right. He says, you've got to understand that what you go through could be dangerous. It has been in the past. I said, all right. But he says, what do you think after seeing all these pictures and things? I didn't know what that was for. And it had something to do with life, you know, what it stood for and things like that. So I am going to miss things out here deliberately.
Yeah, no, my understanding is, with hindsight, is that they were putting you through, I heard you refer to it as fear elimination. And
well, the first one was, it's not so much fear elimination, it's actually fear control, learning how to control your fears, you see? Okay. You don't want to get rid of fear. Because fear is one of your natural instincts to avoid things, you see? Okay, all right. So I call it the fear elimination, but it was actually a fear control thing. Okay. Anyway, this time I just sat down and they put this couple of bits of wires on my head. And I sat there with my hands on the table and I heard this funny noise. And it appeared to come from this, what looked like a pen. A thick pen in his hand, and he was still spinning this coin, and he used to spin this coin on this rough table. Wasn't smooth like ordinary planks of wood, which had somebody been stabbing it with a knife or something, and it was really rough. and he put his finger on the top, and it still kept running for a few seconds. Then he picked it up, and that had nothing. I left that in because I think people would think, well, I never mentioned the wires or thing, you see, that it was some kind of hypnosis, you see. So anyway, what happened then was I can't remember nothing. I woke up, and I found me jaw was numb, and I thought it was that no time had gone by whatsoever. And I had said to him, what's going on? I says, I need, I was stammering, well, not stammering, but struggling, looking for words.
Yeah.
When am I going to learn that machine? That's what I said. He says, well, have a cup of tea. So they had this big urn in the corner, kept giving us tea. I love tea. So anyway, as I was drinking the tea, he says, well, you know that machine, the combat? Yeah. He says, well, you already know it now. I says, well, I haven't gone anywhere, so how the heck can I have learnt this? He says, well, believe me, it's all in your head. You know it. I says, what we've got to do now is you have to go onto the shop floor, onto the hangar floor, and they're going to put you through a test. I says, are you really sure about this? I mean, I really do know it. He says, yeah. He says, have a look. And I looked at my arms, and I had scratches on my arms, and I had a tooth missing, and I had blood in my lips, and I couldn't feel that until I actually saw it. And he says, nip yourself. So I nipped myself. I couldn't feel anything. He says, so wait till this is gone. Wait till that's gone. Have your tea. So when it was gone, I don't know how long that took. You notice I keep slipping the Geordie slang there.
I don't mind. My first boyfriend was a Geordie. And he was,
anyway, again, they took us down these few steps, and I'd already been introduced to these guys, by the way, prior to that.
Can you tell me their names? I know you called one of them Chalky.
Yeah, Chalky, not because of his name, because of his white. He was, no matter how much he was in the sun, he was always white.
Oh, right. He was all nicknamed.
Yeah, and then there was Dynamo.
I want to write these down. Oh, there's my pen. I'm only curious. It's only because of my dad. So there was Chalky, Dynamo, and yourself was Geordie.
Spot, yeah, and then a spot on, we used to call him, because everything he did was so accurate, so perfect.
Right, okay. Were they the only three names you knew?
Yeah, and then it was Ken, obviously. So it was like 4 of us.
Yeah.
And then it was Ken. He was the sort of intermediate.
Yeah.
The rest of the 16 was scattered across the Middle East as intelligence officers. They used to gather whatever information we needed. We were like, I think the term would be today, hitmen.
Yeah.
Cleaners.
Just curious, before you carry on, did you know the names of any of the other ones?
Yes, I did for a short period of time.
You don't remember them now?
No, I prefer not to say it.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. Absolutely fine. Yeah, carry on.
Anyway, they put us through a test, and the test was they used to pick up weapons and just attack us. Not just one of them, but 2 of them, and sometimes 3. And I found I could stop them without even thinking about it. And I said, why did I go through all of that? I mean, how come I know this? He says, well, our biggest problems as human beings, he says, is your conscious brain, gets in the bloody way. So that's why, when your students lock themselves away in quiet corners, he says, and they don't like any sound around them, so they can concentrate. Well, we dispense with that. That's what he said. We dispense with your conscious brain.
When you found out afterwards, how long had you been? It sounds like
3 days. 3 days.
Exactly. It sounds like you had downloads put in you with trauma-based mind control, possibly with electronic things going on as well, and maybe even drugging.
No, there was.
Like you had a download, a sort of subconscious.
No, all it did. No, it's not like any of that. What actually it is, this device I had in my head, which there's no wires attached to it, by the way. No wires at all. There was just thin wires that came across my head on each side of my temple, one on the top and two at the very back, at the base of my skull.
Wow.
But there was no wires attached to that at all, right? And all that is, that can do two things. It can switch off both your conscious and subconscious.
Wow.
So what that did is, that switched off my conscious brain, and it puts us in a sort of like walking in your sleep. So what happens then is the eyes can still transmit whatever it sees to the subconscious brain, bypassing the conscious brain. That's how it works. You see?
Wow.
So anyway, I learned the machine. I learned all of the weapons as well. They put me through the test to make sure that I did know it. So like you say, I'm jumping ahead. And then we did what you call the first kill. I had to put it to real practice. So there was some Greeks up in the mountains and through this mountains in this cave, and we had to find them. We knew roughly where they were, but we were up there at night and it was difficult. We had to abseil down some cliffs, which was very dangerous. One of the lads actually when we got halfway down, Chalky found that the path that he was supposed to land on wasn't there anymore, to be washed away. So he was dangling there in the pitch dark. So I had no lights at all. But when daylight started to break, we pulled him over to where we were. So everything was okay, but we had a weapon called the sash. It was like a belt thing. I don't want to describe it too much because you don't want people walking on the streets with these things. So we had to take them off when we slept on that hillside until the break of day. And the first cave we went into, the water was coming in from, the snow and that. There's lots of snow out there, by the way, in Cyprus, up in the Trudas Mountains. We weren't far away from the radar station either. We couldn't have been that far away. But anyway, we went into this, I went into this tunnel, and where some of the roof had caved in, it was like an embankment of loose gravel, loose stones. And I climbed to the top of that, looked over the top, and here were these Greeks with guns in a larger cave there was a truck just outside the door. So they were obviously going to transport them somewhere. When I turned around to come back, because I couldn't get over this, when I turned around to come back, there was a dog at the top, a big white dog on top of this mountain. And it was looking down and growling at us. And the water coming in drowned the sound of quite a lot. It was like being in a shower. This dog was slipping, but it was a big dog, like a mountain dog. And it came tearing down and it went for us. And I killed it, I had to kill it. I didn't have an option.
Yeah.
That emotion, I don't like killing animals. Not unless it's for food. But we went out of there, went back into this cave again, into a different part of it, because I went and told the lads, hey, I found him. So we crept up this mound again to where it was wider. We were watching him. And Chalky, who had his legs, was still hurting him from hanging in that harness. He went around to the main entrance to it, you see, because you found it hard to walk. So we slid down this, we climbed over the top and slid down into this cave, and they were all sitting on a fire, and we all took one each and we killed them, literally. I mean, made quite a mess. In fact, the one I hit, because it was the first time, it was called the first kill, if you like, or first blood, whatever you want. His hand fell in the fire, and I jumped over to kick his hand out of the fire, and they just stood there laughing. So I said, why did you do that? I said, I don't know, just did it. He said, dead. So anyway, and then Chalky came in, dragging his body in with his jaw missing. He had used the sash on him. So anyway, what happened was we got rid of them. destroyed the truck and what have you. Got back into the, close that door, please. Got back into the Jeep. And when we all got back in the Jeep to leave, I said, I have to go back, because that's, when I climbed at the top of that mound, I saw that the dog had 2 puppies, and that's why it was attacking us. So I insisted on, I went back for them, and they were just laughing and said, look, you're not able to take these back to camp. I said, look, I've got to go back. So I went back and I got the 2 puppies, and I'm sitting in there. I give one of them to one of the other lads, because some English troops were on the other side of this river firing at, we thought we were the enemy, and they were firing at us, you see. So
wouldn't you have thought that the commanding officer would have told them these are...
No, nobody knew we existed.
Right. Okay.
No one knew we existed.
And isn't it interesting that although you were trained to be a killing machine, but they didn't kill your empathy because, like, you wanted to get the puppies and you went to instinctively take them out?
That was the object of the exercise. That's why I went through that program. See, that programming is not like the sort of programming that you're on about. That's total brainwashing. That's taking control. No, this is just a learning process where you learn the good things. You're not meant to act as a robot.
No, I know, and that's great. That's great. But the fact that you lost 3 days, and the fact that it was bypassing your conscious mind, so it's fairly heavy duty. I would call it pro.
Well, again, you see, this is only you think like that because of your environment, the way you've been brought up, and the things that you've seen. You see, again, there's lots of things. I was programmed with natural things in it. Do you understand? These are not, how can I put it? This is not meant for bad use. In other words, it's not meant to override your conscious.
Okay.
The human side. It's not meant to override that.
Okay.
So otherwise you end up with some kind of like I said, some kind of lunatic on your hands. You see? Yeah. So again, these are good people, and unfortunately the government had no idea we existed. That's why I was picked out of different regiments, so we could just come out as a working party. Then I would disappear. The regiment would just think we're working somewhere. As long as I came back on the day I was supposed to come back, that was okay. They had no idea where I'd been.
Wow.
None whatsoever.
Wow.
You see,
okay.
That's the setup. You see?
Right.
So again, it gets, do I say worse? I don't know what word to use here, because it's not worse. It's saying the understanding of life, we're not meant to know. You're not meant to know that. You're built and designed not to understand exactly what life is. Otherwise, there'll be no life. You would have no life, because you know what life and death was. Like I said, it's like a world without need or a world without want would be the end of mankind. There's going to be a want, there's going to be a learning. So everything you hear on YouTube in regards to death, the results of that, honestly, it's completely wrong. It's completely wrong. Again, let's take it that step further. I went into the one step beyond. That's another different kettle of fish, believers. This is something that's highly dangerous. Yeah. This is, say, now, the first one was the test to see how I stood up to it. Yeah. See how I reacted. And then that's why they left it 2 or 3 weeks before I went through the one step beyond. Okay. And the reason why you go through the one step beyond, because someone has to know what all of this is about. You don't want the public to know, because believe you me, when you get these fools saying that the truth will set you free, that is absolute nonsense. It will get you killed. It'll definitely get you killed. And the people if you want to call them people that control this world, they know all about it. They know all about it. That's why you'll hear them say, we've got to get rid of all white people. They say that in public. I've got recordings of them saying that. That's the whole object of the exercise. They've got to get rid of all white people. There's a very good reason for that, which I can't tell you. In fact, I wouldn't tell you over the airways. But there's a very good reason for that. And it's all got to do with them, if you want to call them, being able to stay here.
Okay.
It's a massive, how can I put it? It's you being total panic stations if you really knew what they were up to. It's got nothing to do, taking over the world and running the world with the New World Order is just a means to achieving the main goal, which is, in a sense, eternal life.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah. So let's go back. Like I say, I'm gonna have to be very careful what I say here.
Why, John? Why? Do you think your life's still in danger? Why? I'm not being rude. Why hold back?
See, I'll tell you why. Well, everything you know or everything you've studied, when they say that if you let the truth out, well, that'll protect you, that's absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. In fact, like I've said to lots of people, I look on the world as one big mental hospital where all the mental patients are asking each other for help, because that's where they've got you. They've got you there because all the video programs that you see are tainted with so much lies and deception. And I've often said, if you put the truth into a battle of lies and deception, you're not going to find it, especially if you don't know what the truth is in the first place. It could be sitting on your knee and you would never recognize it, you see? So over the last 2,000 years, our lives has been controlled from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right? And it was all started off with this so-called God business, right? It's not God, it's Gog. It was always Gog.
Okay, we're going to disagree on that, but we can agree to disagree.
It doesn't matter whether you agree or disagree. That's the real thing. And his name, that was his rank. Gog is his rank. Right?
Okay. Yeah, I want to rewind a bit before I know you have slightly different views.
No, they're not views, they're facts.
Okay, well, and also, I'm not trying to...
Well, what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen soon. I'm getting people that's going to put all this together in such a way where it's all evidence, solid evidence, not hearsay. There are going to be models made of what I'm saying, models made of it to prove that what is taking place out there, why the sun does what it does, why the moon does what it does, why the earth does what it does, what keeps them in that position. I'm going to prove how that's done.
You know, I've got no trouble believing you. I think you've got a fascinating story and I think you're amazing.
Anyway, we'll go back. People only want to hear what they want to hear. That as long as it fits in with their way of thinking or what they've been programmed with, that's what they'll go along with. But it has to fit in with their way of thinking because everybody is programmed. You have been programmed for the last 2,000 years. But they'll never admit to that. Never in a million years. It destroys their whole life, their whole way of thinking. Everything they know is a lie. They can't accept that, for crying out loud. It's too much. It's destroying everything they know.
Did you see, because I've heard you talk and I'd like you to talk a little bit about that time where you had to go in and get those tablets or stones, that technology,
yeah,
two of the 6 pieces. Have you seen?
I think there was more than 6 pieces. I was told we were after 6 pieces.
Okay, talk a little bit. For those that don't know your story, will you talk a little bit about that? Because that's...
Okay. Well, okay. From the very beginning, right up to the day we went to Jarraba, when most of us met up That's how I met these people. Some of them, not all of them, because some of them were like lorry drivers and flying helicopters and boats and things like that, you see. This was all our transport, you see. So most of them met up in Lebanon there, and we went over to a place called Jalaba. Now, Jalaba has been wiped off the map, but I can prove it. I've got the world maps.
Yep.
I can prove it existed. And it's at the foot of Mount Hermon.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow.
There's a lot of things you don't know.
No, I know. I mean, I know there's a lot I don't know.
These tablets were, all the time we went to, when we did Operation Pinprick, which was in Lebanon where I killed one of them, I didn't know. I still didn't know what we were really after. I thought we were just individuals for something to do with nuclear weapons and things like that. That's what. They didn't want me to know too much because it's too dangerous, you see. Then we went into Egypt, you see, into Cairo. And we did another, we assassinated another guy who was well guarded, and everybody thought that was an impossibility. They thought it was just some figment of my imagination. But I've got SAS officers who came here. I've got pictures of them and everything, and I've got agreements wanting to buy it off us. I've got all of that as evidence, solid evidence. And also the Egyptians invited me over there. Their special forces, the 3-7s in Nasser City, invited us over there. They had found bodies on the Nile, one body on the Nile with fingers missing, which I did, one of them. So they wanted me over there. They wanted to know all about Jalaba. I went over there. When I got over there, I got a medal off them. They treated me like some kind of king, literally. They escorted me through with sirens going and everything. I've got pictures of us out there, and I was showing them how to do anti-terrorist work that they'd never seen before anywhere.
Wow.
They even got a bus which was full of their officers, in which there was supposed to be three terrorists on board with guns, machine guns and what have you, which fired up like a paint capsule. And I showed them how to go on the bus as a doctor to make sure that the hostages were okay. And I took out the 3 guys within a few seconds, and I got a stand ovation off them, and I got a scroll off them with their signatures on the top saying I was the best counter-terrorist expert in the world.
Wow.
And I've got pictures with them. And so I wanted credibility. That's the only reason why I went there. I wanted the credibility. Because people, like I said, in the world that you live in now, they're too busy watching, these silly James Bond things, and they think everything's just, that sort of thing isn't real. Did you understand? When somebody comes out with this stuff, it's real. What
year was that, John? What year did you go to Egypt?
Well,
get fated?
I mean, just 5-6 years ago.
Wow.
When they invited us over there. My book's full of it. My book's full of the pictures. Everything's in there.
Yeah,
but you can't buy it off the internet. Don't buy anything off Amazon.
No, tell us about your book. I'm going to give you a couple of opportunities, but it's probably a good time to say it's called The 16.
It's called The 16, The One Step Beyond, right? But it's being advertised on Amazon at the moment through a publisher, my publisher, who gave us no publicity whatsoever. He printed the book in the worst paper you could possibly get, right? And then I was told, this is what I was told of the agent, your name is being bandied about in Whitehall, the corridors of power. Then I understood why there was no publicity on the book whatsoever, and that's why it is on Amazon now as a softback with some kind of silly picture on the front with some crosshairs on. Okay. And I've never had a penny of that, not 1 penny.
Oh,
they're just ripping us off.
That's terrible. You're not the first person to say that about that. So, so people can buy from you direct.
Yeah, what they've got to do is if they use my email address, Depending where you are, where they live, it would cost them £25 for the book, but it's in a beautiful condition. The quality is perfect.
Okay.
All the pictures in there, everything's in there, right?
Okay.
It's the best quality you're going to get, and the book's £20, but we charge for packaging and postage. It's 25 quid in this country, but if it's abroad, obviously it's more. But if you give me
address, John.
if you've got me email address,
can you just say it for the viewers?
Yes, certainly. The email address is john@ucsdefense.com. Defense spelled with a C. Okay?
Yep.
The
And
book
John
is
JOHN.
That's right.
Yep. Yep.
And like I said, the book is called it's a hardback, and it's called The 60 and the One Step Beyond. And on the back of the book is a picture of the pyramids with the tablets on the back of the book, showing what the tablets look like. Yeah. So anyway, let's go back again.
Yeah.
We'll miss a few of the operations we did.
Yeah.
I'll just give you a little instance, just a small, and we'll not go any further with it. When people are, when your body goes into what you call death calm, that's your body starting to die. What takes place then is that the subconscious brain sort of rewinds and deletes itself. That's what you see in most cases. I can't go into the rest, what the Egyptians, the real Egyptians did, not in the one called Egyptians, by the way, but the people that were in charge of who built the pyramids and what happened, took part in the top of the pyramids, is completely opposite what you've been told, completely opposite, right? And the people that destroyed all that evidence was what you call Nephilim.
Yeah.
They destroyed all the evidence. What you're looking at now is all phony. It's all a con. It's all a con.
Okay.
Anyway, what actually took place in those pyramids is not what they say, and the one burial chambers neither. Anyway, getting back to
the tablets.
Getting back to okay. Anyway, let's put it this way. I went through what people would say near-death experience, but it's not. It's where they take the conscious brain, subconscious brain, and switches them both off. Wow. Because your subconscious brain is only a recording machine. It's only a recorder.
Yeah.
So when people die, when their energy leaves the body, it appears as though they're looking down. They're not looking, well, they are, but they're looking through the energy. If the energy leaves the body, you're dead. You're gone. Right? But there's a lot more to that. It's not the end.
I've had at least 2 of those experiences.
Yeah, well, you'll get them. It's called death calm, and the energy wants to leave the energy starting to leave the body. But if it's not your time to die, it will hang around. And what you're doing, you're looking through like a periscope. You're looking down on things, and that's why you see things from above. Yep. But you're not actually looking from above because you only see that afterwards, not during.
Wow.
Because you're taking a film, the film ends up in your subconscious, then you see it.
Wow.
Then you see it, not during, okay? So anyway, let's get back. Anyway, I went through that, and women, prior to that, I was told that the first guy had either drank something that was like beer or something, 1 pint, just one. When they put him through it, he burst into flames. Blue flame came from his body. And the only thing that was left was his legs at the bottom and some of his clothes. The next guy that did it too, he had something. It was either smoking or something which he shouldn't have done because the brain has to be clear of everything.
Wow.
What happened to him was his soul left the body and he died, but the body, there was nothing wrong with the body, nothing wrong with the brain, but the soul had left because of that.
Yep.
They couldn't get him back. Wow. So when I went through it, they told us, we have solved the problem, because I took my blood and did a blood test to make sure that I wasn't contaminated in their words. I wasn't contaminated in their words. That's why they want you to drink. That's why Do you understand? It helps to dumb you down.
Wow. Wow.
Any kind of drink, no matter what it is, you see?
Yeah.
Anyway, get back to the tablets. Where do you want to be with that?
Well, I'm fascinated at everything you're saying, and this is some of it's new, and that's amazing.
No, that's you've like you say, you haven't heard anything yet.
No, so I'm happy for you to talk, but the spontaneous combustion thing that happened to a friend of mine's daughter in Dublin.
Oh, it's all got to do with sound.
Wow.
It's all got to do with frequencies, different sound levels.
So
anyway,
okay, you carry on. I'm going to let you
talk. You could say that I met up with Mustard 16, and we landed in Lebanon, and we had, I'm forgetting how many miles, it wasn't that far. We went across the River Jordan, when the River Jordan was at its highest and the roughest, it was really powerful river. And we crossed it, and that's why the SAS here in England wanted to know how we did it. And they know that I could do it, you see, without touching the water. Nothing magic, we're doing fly across. Don't get the wrong idea, because people do that. No, it's just technology, which is far advanced to what they even got today. Right? There's nothing magic here. Nothing real magic anyway, what you call magic. When we got across that River Jordan, and we were heading towards that compound, don't forget, it was a 19-year-old lad who had never even seen a television set, okay? And I saw the two biggest flying saucers you've ever seen. Now, I had no idea what they were. I'd never seen anything like it. I just stood there pointing at them, and Chalky came dashing up to us and said, "You've seen nothing." And nobody, the rest of the lads, never even looked up. They didn't even look in the direction. And I'm saying, how can I forget that? He says, switch off. You've been taught how to forget.
Wow. Wow.
So I did. I never asked any more after that. I switched off. We went up into these hills where there was all woods, trees. Anyway, we're looking down at the compound. We raided that compound, and we destroyed just about everybody in it. It's in the book how it's done, right? So the people buy the book, they're going to read how we did it. And when they came, when this particular guy who got into the camp, got into this big office block, kill the people in the office, in this office, which were people from, let's say, from abroad, in the West, from this country, and who are not, let's say, who want to destroy this country and everything it stands for, just like America, right? Let's say that. I'm struggling here trying to...
Globalist, elite, Illuminati.
Well, whatever you want to call them. They are there. They were there. Well, at least 4 of them. 3 that look like us, and 3 that weren't quite like us. Still look a bit like human beings. They were all wiped out, and we got the lad that went in that office, and we, like you say, we just about annihilated that camp. Came back with the tablets. I had no idea. It was when we got across the River Jordan again, and they would keep on, during that period of time, they keep on saying, don't forget them. And I'm saying, them, it, what the hell are you talking about? Just forget it, Jody. So when we got across the river, and we were in a safe position, because they couldn't get across, he said, where they got this bag out, and inside was this black box. And they opened this black box. I had trouble trying to open it because there didn't appear to be any catches on it, or, they touched it and so weird, and it opened like your little compartment in your car when you touch it and it pops open. A bit like that, you see. Right. Anyway, they took this velvet out, red velvet, and when they opened it up, there was 2 oblong, half-inch thick, green-looking glass things, like tablets. And on the tops of them were lines like you would find on an old-fashioned record. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And at the side, there was like two things, like over, like two bits of lollipop sticks at the sides, round ones, you see? Okay. And I was struggling to see them. And then one of my team takes out the thing, puts it over his hand, and on the back of his hand, it looked like a square watch on the back of his hand. He picked up the tablet and he ran it through this device. And when he did that, the watch, that looked like a watch, like a little screen, pictures came up of people and figures and numbers. That flashed by as I was watching. And I was flabbergasted. I says, all I could remember saying was, where's the batteries? Where's the batteries? And they said, why do you want batteries, Jordan?
Wow.
I said, well, why is it like, no, why is it showing these pictures? And they said, you've got 200 volts in your body, Jody. You've just got to learn how to use it.
Wow.
So that's what happened. Anyway, they had a good look at them and they said, this is what we're after. When they shine the torch on them, right, or the flashlight, as Americans would say, little, like, you know, like you have in a dance hall with a big round ball on the ceiling, and all that started to happen as though the damn things were charging up off the light.
Okay.
Right? So these started, were cloaks over the top like this to cover each other. And this started to happen. Anyway, when he tested them, he said, that's them. And he wrapped them back up, put them in a box and give them to what we call a runner who leaves us. He's the only one that runs off on his own, you see?
Okay. Okay.
And that was the last I saw them. That was the last I saw them.
Sorry, carry on.
So we left there. When we left there, I actually got stabbed in the leg when we got near the pickup area. It was pitch dark in the mountains and a truck came along. I thought it was ours. And anyway, that's in the book. If it hadn't been for a big stone behind us, it wouldn't have happened. But there was a stone behind it, which I didn't see because it was, I mean, you're talking about pitch dark, you know, only the lights up the truck.
Right.
Anyway, I got stabbed in the top of the leg. And you saw the way that bandaged up, you've never seen anything like in all your life. It was like, it was teeming the blood, and the knife I went through, it was called like a Chris, a wavy knife, you know, and it touched the bone. It went right through the bone. I've still got the scar there. It's still there. And what they did was they put what appeared to be two strips on each side of the cut after they dried it up, right? They put something on it to stop it from bleeding. And then there were like laces coming off them. And then they tied the laces like tying a shoe up. And the cut just pulled together. And then they put an ordinary bandage on top of that. Anyway, so anyway, if you look in the book, you'll see a picture of me with the two puppies in the camp, right, which you're not supposed to have. Check up, you'll find you're not supposed to have puppies in the Middle East in the camp. So ask, how did I get them, right? That's in the book.
Right.
Yeah, so all that's in the book to give you more proof that this really did take place.
I believe
anyway,
you.
After that, national service packed up. I was supposed to sign on for another 3 years with them, but apparently how we formed couldn't be reassembled again because all the troops were leaving. You see, so you couldn't exercise that same type of outfit without different regiments being where they were. You see, and also the terrorists, the Iraqi terrorists. In Cyprus, they were meant to be there. They could have been taken out any time. We could have taken Grievous out any time we wanted. And I was told he's meant to be there. That keeps the British troops there.
Okay.
That's why they never took him out at that time. We could have got rid of Bishop Ricardis. There were a lot of them. But no, it's all meant to be. Believe me.
So all of this.
So after that, we all broke up. I went down to the ship called the Devonshire Troop Carrier, which brought me home. And when we were sitting on, I was trying to find out who these people were, you know, where they come from. And he said, I'll tell you a secret, Jody. I come from the place where they sell the best cheese in England. And I thought I had the damn thing. Then I realized there's lots of cheese, which is great in England. There's still condos like there, if you like, not a con, but, you know, anyway, that's what happened. And that's in the book as well. It's all in the book.
Okay.
If anybody wants a copy, just email us it. And
I meant to send you a link. I might have sent it to you because they talk about when the American troops went into Iraq, supposedly looking for Saddam Hussein. Yeah. It's been leaked that actually they were taken somewhere. I think it was underground, and there was like gazillions worth of gold and gold. They weren't after the treasure. It sounded to me like they were after more of what you guys had, you know, you said these 6. Have you heard of that? Have you seen anything about that? It's all very well documented.
Well, put it this way, the goals, they've got the goal, what they want.
Yeah, the gold wasn't it. They were after what...
The goal is not what you think it's for.
Okay, well, just before we go on to that, it sounds like that they were also retrieving more of these tablets.
Anyway, okay, I'm going to say something. People are not going to like what I'm going to say, but this is true. As the war started in Germany, just before the war started, as Hitler was promoted, right, by Jews who took them there, who promoted it, they took 2 tablets, not the tablets that we had, the tablets that they had. They took them to the German scientists, and most of those German scientists were Jewish. They experimented with the 2 tablets. None of these tablets, the only thing they would get off them is a certain amount of information because it's all jungled up. You need all of them together and all have to be passed through a machine. They didn't know how to make a machine that they could pass through. They didn't have the technology. The technology that was coming off, which was all about little chips and things like that you have on your phone, but they didn't know how to make them. They didn't have the people to be able to put them together, right? And Hitler, to his top scientists, his scientists, had put together a thing called the declunk, the bell of the information. But it was so huge, they had to use what equipment they had. They couldn't use the exact equipment that was on the tablets because they didn't know how to make the damn things. So they were replacing them with what they thought was the right things, you see. Of course, this bell was rather large, right? And when they used certain frequencies, it took off inside this hangar, and they thought they had an anti-gravity machine. They didn't. They knew that they had made a mistake. They knew they had a mistake with the information they were getting. They had missed certain things out, and they realized that. When they made it, it was twice the bloody size. So they put it on a back of a low loader and they took it to Poland, to an old water tower there. The water tower was missing except for the concrete base, which was a round circular thing with what appeared to have legs on it. They stuck it in the middle of that, they chained it down, and the truck that brought it and the 2 guys that were drivers and the crane that put it there had driven away. The crane was gone. The crane that lifted it. The 2 guys, when they first started switching on this frequency, which they never had people in front of it before, the 2 guys vanished and only their clothes were left lying.
Wow.
True. What happened after that, if they messed on, they thought they were doing it all wrong, they weren't sure, they switched it back on again, and the truck disappeared, and only the tires and anything that wasn't made of metal vanished, and the concrete around the base of that bell turned to dust like the towers.
Yeah, Twin Towers, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay,
Wow.
it turned to dust like, because the metal inside the concrete vanished, therefore the concrete turned to dust, and
Wow.
the bell just went off somewhere. I don't know, but I think it just disintegrated. I think it turned to dust as well.
Wow.
So when Hitler realized that, he told them who brought it that they weren't going to get it. It was an energy weapon, not so. That's why the whole world was brought about to flatten Germany, because they wanted those tablets. After the war, they got all the scientists called Operation Paperclip, and they took them to America. All the scientists that were involved, strange they weren't killed. Anyway, well, in 1947, 46, they were still experimenting with it, and it was called the Philadelphia experiment. And the ship didn't vanish and land up somewhere else. Half of it vanished, and some of the sailors got caught in the parts where were half, where the metal had sort of broke up to ready to disappear, to turn back into dust or molecules or whatever. And they were caught in what was left. So this whole story started that the whole ship vanished and ended up somewhere, some kind of, but it wasn't. It had nothing to do with that. So they practiced it again, now and again, and they made a film of the Philadelphia trying to tell you that it ended up somewhere. It didn't. It didn't. The next time you saw it was in 2001, where the top of the towers vanished. That's when they had got this massive machine, and they shrank it with the modern technology where you got all your TVs from and your mobile phones that worked out how to put that together. And that's where they got it from. Wow. That's the true story of it.
Wow. Wow.
That's how dangerous this is.
Yeah.
So that's what they're going to use next on us. They've already tried it in the Middle East. They tried it on a bus in the Middle East, and half the bus vanished. In the people that were in some seats, their faces were gone, but their bodies were still sitting there.
God, it's just awful. I heard you say somewhere that you went out to did you go to Saudi Arabia as well?
No. I've been in South Africa. The South African police invited us out there, and I showed them some things.
Okay.
From there, we went up to Cairo, where I was invited to Nasser City. And all the pictures of me there is in the book. It's full of pictures.
No, I think I must get it. We've got another half an hour. What I'd like to do is take like a 3-minute break, if you just need a glass of water or whatever, and then come back, and I'll have some questions for you. I could listen, but I'm sure a lot of people do. You're a mine of information, and I really appreciate your time. Okay, folks, welcome back to the last 20 minutes or so of Angela's Caches, and I'm joined by John Urwin, the author of the book 16 One Step Beyond, and you can email John and get a hardback, high-quality copy of that if you'd like to read that. I'm certainly going to. And it's kind of mind-blowing, mind-stretching information. John's just getting a cup of tea. I have a different paradigm that the truth does set us free, and I have a different paradigm as well, that this is the natural work of the enemy, but it's just amazing to listen to the information, and so I'm letting John do most of the talking.
That was taken out, that's why I picked it up. It looks exactly the same. Who took that out? That must have been Jonathan.
Hey John.
Hi.
Sorry, that was a really short break. We've got about 20 minutes left. I did write down some questions, and then I'll give you some time at the end if there's anything more. First of all, just a couple of just down-to-earth questions. I know that your wife wasn't well the last interview. I don't know how out of time.
She had a stroke about, I think it's 10 years ago now, and she's partly paralysed. She's 16 years younger than me as well.
And you're her carer as well as...
Yeah, I'm a carer, yeah.
And you're still running a business. Are you still running...
No, I'm not running any business now.
Oh, so you're not doing the combat training thing anymore?
No, well, I had it. My actual club now closes at the end of this month. Mainly
Wow.
the council has made it impossible for us to stay there.
Wow.
See, but whether there's anything, I think probably they just want to build some houses there or something. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But,
Okay.
the conspiracy programs will go, really well with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your wife is still, you're caring for her. So.
I'm still caring for her, yeah. And then we've got Sean Stone, which is Oliver Stone's son. He's in the book as well. He's in the book. And writing the script now to make a film of it.
That's right. Yeah, I was going to ask you, how's that coming along?
Well, again, it's been a very slow process. I really don't know. As far as I understand, I write the script, but someone else has came to me rescue, if you like, who I'll not say too much about him, but he's a lawyer as well, and he's going to look into it to try and force the issue, put it that way. It's far too long, and I've already said I haven't got the monopoly on life.
No,
none of us have, you see. So again, it's taken them a long, long time. People say, oh, they're trying to cover. Well, I don't believe they're trying to cover it up, because all I had to do was keep quiet in the first place. Do you understand? It wouldn't have went anywhere. It's again, everything I say, because of my background, this is why, one of the reasons why they picked us as well. Not only did I not drink or smoke, but I was a keep fit fanatic, but it was also, my background was absolutely perfect. I'm not an educated guy. I spent 5 years at school. Who the hell is going to believe him? Can you imagine these people out there now that listening to this? Why would they believe me? It's only natural. I don't believe them. It's been an absolute perfect cover.
Yeah.
And like I said, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter whether people believe it or not.
No, it doesn't.
Because at the end of the day, the people, they're just goyim. They're just cattle. They're just sheep. And it doesn't make any difference to these guys at the top what they know. They're just playing with your mind.
There's another bit of the jigsaw, because my dad left school at 13 and he didn't go for the whole age, whatever, to 13. And same thing, not an educated man, ran away and joined he was Irish, but he ran away to Belfast and joined the British Air Force. Same thing, see the world, learn a trade and so on. But it was interesting to me that you said about the stammer and from your dad knocking you around as a child, because another thing that seems to come up, a lot of these military people that were recruited, not at the level you were, but a lot of military people that were recruited had some kind of trauma already in their childhood, whether it was violence or other
Well, I think, look, if you start from where I was brought up in Baker, Newcastle, it's a slum area. In 1887, I had a plague, cholera. 1,500 people died in less than 10 days. You see? The whole, everywhere. But even right up to the 40s, we had nothing. We didn't have bathrooms, we had toilets outside. But we are responsible for these poor coloured guys that are slaves, by the way. We were responsible for that, according to them. And we were bloody slaves ourselves. We had nothing. But, these are the sort of things to push out. Again, we had nothing in those days, nothing. And this is, when you think, the entertainment, my father was a boxer. His life, I'm not making excuses, I probably am. It was a terrible life, very, very little food. He used to breed horses. I was riding horses from the time I was 4 years of age.
Wow.
But most people did in those days. That's all they had going for them. See, the vast majority of people did that. It was the only way of making money. Everything in those days had something to do with horses.
Wow.
The transport was all horses, you see. So again, I was brought up in the back streets of Baker. We didn't have anything, you see. So when we moved to where I am now, up here in a place called Benton in Newcastle, I was 12 years of age. I spent one more year at school and I left. I left school at 14, just before my 14th birthday, because we're allowed to do that then, because my parents needed the money. So the first job I had was on a farm. I was getting up, like I say, if I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I was working till 11 o'clock at night for £3 a week. I mean, you know, people spend that now, well, on cigarettes. But so again, we had nothing even then when we moved up here. So we didn't have a television set. Television sets were just coming out up here then. And like I said, I wanted to be a mechanic, so I left the farm and ended up in a garage where I was classed as a grease monkey. So I wasn't going to learn anything. I was just being used to make tea and grease vehicles and things like that. So that's with that and what my mum told us is what made me decide to go in the army.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't think I was sort of groomed to do what I did. I think when I first put my name down, say like a few months prior to them actually me going in the army and having my medical, that's when it started. That's when it actually started.
Possibly, because my dad wanted to be an aircraft engineer. Well, first of all, he applied for pilot, and there was some issue with that. It might have been, I don't know what it was. And then he was taken on as an aircraft engineer, and then they said to him, "Oh no, we're going to transfer you because we need more men in another unit." So they transferred him into the catering corps, actually. So, but yeah. So did you? I'm just seeing if anything joins. Did you have any skills with dogs or horses, or was it your father that had a lot to do?
Well, my dad had animals. We had chickens, we had horses, we had all sorts of things in them days. Well, I had to, that was the only form of food supply, really, not the horses. But even so, I had horse meat on a Sunday. We didn't have ordinary, we had horse meat every Sunday.
Okay.
That was my Sunday joint. And like I said, I was brought up, bombs were dropping when I was up in Baker, when I was 3 and 4 years of age. There was massive bombing taking place up here.
Yeah.
This was
My grandpa was in World War I, and he was in communications and Morse code.
Yeah.
And he did the entire 4 years on the front line, which is very unusual because you're usually excused from frontline duties after a year, maximum 2, because it's too traumatic to stay on the front line.
Yeah. But
because of having to keep the communications all working, he got given privileges to keep doing that frontline duty.
Yeah. And well, I think, like I said, the only reason why I was picked for the 16, one of the main reasons was I've never drunk, never even tasted the damn stuff.
Yeah.
I've never smoked.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was a keep fit fanatic.
Yeah.
You know, so it was they were the qualifications. You could not get into this outfit because they used the word contamination.
Yeah.
You were contaminated if you drank in any shape or form. It didn't matter what it was, whether it was wine, whiskey, or whatever. Yeah. And I never touched any of those. And they knew that by me, you know, when they took blood tests and things like that to check it out. Yeah. Otherwise, I'd probably end up being a torch in that seat.
Isn't that amazing? Now, my dad didn't drink or smoke either, so he wouldn't have been your average, not average, but, you know, he wouldn't have been down the naffy, you know. And so the other question is, do you have any kind of unusual blood group?
No, I don't think so. No, I've just got an average blood group, yeah.
So, okay, so do you know your blood type?
Not offhand, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to see, because I wrote down a few questions. I'm just going to see through if there's anything I forgot. Yeah, so did this all happen in 2 years? You just did 2 years national service.
Yeah.
And that all happened in those 2 years?
Yeah. Well, how long does it take?
it just sounds like a lifetime. My father was in for 25 years. And the other thing that...
No, but it's 25 years means you could do nothing in 25 years. I mean, all you're doing is you're just working. You're just going from...
No, I'm sure he was recruited in some kind of special...
Okay, to become a doctor, it's let's say becoming a doctor. You don't have to spend 25 years to become a doctor.
No, I know. But something else that pricked my ears up was when you described that water vat. Because,
you mean the water towers in Poland, you mean?
Yeah, because my dad talked about one of those in Madeira. He had a couple of unaccompanied postings to Madeira, and he talked about a water tower like that, and said...
Well, I was only talking about that. I was only talking about that one. Right. I was talking about the pyramids, what they did and how they did it, and that they were 9 degrees out. That's why they didn't work anymore. I was taught about just about everything you can think of in regards to life and the past, and how things started. It's everything we know just started. What we know, I was out there, just started 2,000 years ago. That's where it all started. Prior to that, none of the things that we talk about existed. There wasn't any gods. There wasn't anything like that. They were all just little gods and things like that, you see. Again, okay, somebody asked me a question about religion. I said, well, can I ask you a question on religion? And they said, yes. I said, okay. You said that there's a God and he made the earth. And they said, yes. I said, why? Why did he make the earth? For what reason? And they couldn't give us an answer. I said, okay, we'll accept that he made the earth. But then he put people on it, did he? And they said, yes. I said, why did he put people on it? For what reason would he want to put people on it? And they didn't know that neither. So these were priests as well. I said, okay, we'll say that he put people on it. Then he gave them free will, is that right? Yeah. I said, well, why the hell did he start slaughtering them, killing them, mass murdering them, starving them to death, this psychopath who goes around slaughtering people if he didn't follow him? So why did he make the earth in the bloody first place? So this mass murderer that everybody worships, who nobody's ever seen before in their life, and they still worship this mass murderer who's he's a real psychopath. Now that is fact, that is truth. That's what he does. It tells you in the bloody Bible he does that. And then on top of that, what they say to you, that's blasphemous, that he'll strike you down and say, oh, I told you he's a mass murderer. He has got no control over his people and he doesn't know how to do it because he doesn't exist. God and the devil are one and the same. But people won't wake up to that. They'll have their own ideas.
I disagree. I'm not going to fight with you, but I disagree.
You disagree that God doesn't go around slaughtering people?
The God of the Old Testament is quite shocking. I've studied the Bible.
But even the new one, he's still doing it.
Okay.
He's still doing it today.
Right.
But again, he doesn't exist, so really he cannot do it.
All right, well, we can agree to disagree on that. I've seen Jesus. I've seen the face of Jesus. I've seen his miracles in my life. I agree that the God of the Old Testament...
So this Jesus is a white guy with long blonde hair, is he?
No, no. He's got brown eyes. He's got a beautiful face. He's
so why did he make the earth and put people on it then? Why did he do that? For what reason?
I believe God created the earth because it's in his nature to create, and I believe he created people to enjoy them. He wanted a family.
But he doesn't. He goes around slaughtering them when they try to enjoy it.
He wanted a family, but he didn't want robots. If he didn't give us free will, we would just be robots. And who wants robots?
The churches, look at, if you take the churches just going back less than 100 years, all they did was mass murder. They flogged people. They tortured people if they didn't follow God. They burned people at the stake. And they're still doing it. It's even worse today.
I agree.
It's even worse today.
Yeah, I agree. The church and organised religion is a disgrace. But we've only got about 5 more minutes.
Well, why doesn't he stop it?
Because he gives us free will.
I know, but if he gives them free will, why does he punish them when they don't follow him?
No, you see, that's probably religion talking. That's not true. God loves us. And
I'm only going by what it says in the Bible. That's all I'm going by.
I am too, but it says we should worship him in spirit and in truth.
Well, I put it this way, I've been there, I know what it's like, and he's got
right. Well, look, we can have that conversation another time. I'd love that. But in the last 5 minutes, I only found out from you that Hereford was the SAS training place. That was another place Dad was stationed at, and one of my sisters was born there.
See, look, let's put it this way. The SAS are a bunch of clowns.
Yeah, compared to you guys.
No, they're a bunch of clowns. I call them the Silly Arsenal Squad. That's what I call them, in their face. Because I went down there, look here, they're a bunch of drunks that hide out in the pub somewhere, and it's always headlines in the paper when they're moving, they're top secret, but you can find all our secrets on YouTube. And when they go anywhere, like Bravo 20, they get lost, they cannot find their way back, they don't even know it gets cold in the desert. They're a bunch, I'm telling you, I hope they're listening, because Bravo 20, Annie McNabb are a bunch of liars.
Okay, all right. Okay, all I'm getting from this is we've definitely got to do another show, but let me run through the last few questions I had.
I don't pull punches, by the way.
No, I like that. I'm the same, and I will go to the wall with you.
You know, shall I tell you, so here's another one. You know, I was asked by a certain officer of the SAS about the embassy raid in London, right? Now, this is how clever the SAS is. They had cameras watching them. They abseiled, they couldn't abseil properly. One got hung up, got burnt. The other one landed on his head. Then on top of that, they nearly burnt the building down, right? They had no idea what they were doing. They were on television showing the enemy how they did things. And then I was asked by this officer, how would I have done it? And I said, I would have went up and knocked on the door without guns, without anything. That's how I would have done it. Wow. And when he asked me to prove it, I proved at my club what I could do. And he knew he knew I was going to do something, but he still couldn't stop us.
Yeah.
He still couldn't stop us.
And on that,
I say to people out there, don't talk. If people want to put me to a test, any test they like, but I'm talking about authority here. I'm not talking about somebody, any local people. I'm talking about people at the top who want to put me through any test they like.
Yeah.
You know, and you should always ask this question when you're interviewing people: why, what for, improve it. If you don't get that, don't interview them.
Yeah.
Because all you're going to do is get a pack of lies, some idiots coming on with some silly stories.
Yeah, no, I've done my research, and I believe you absolutely. So I don't have a problem with that. And other people can buy the book and they can research. There was I know what I was going to say. When you described one of your missions, if they'd used that in this supposed shooting in Pulse in Florida recently.
Florida? I'm not aware of it. Yeah, go on.
Well, anyway, they said there was a shooter in there, but nobody died until the SWAT team went in. Well, if all these...
Well, see, look, the vast majority of things that you see are phony. The one in France.
Yeah.
In AK-47, look, you walk over a guy's head lying on the floor, he's going to have no head. His head would literally come off, right?
Yeah.
So again, there's lots of evidence that these things are phony.
John, sorry, just give me a quick a few lines. What's your opinion about Brexit? And for some reason, I want to ask you as well, is there anything you know about Dunblane? Okay,
Brexit. The elite took her out of Brexit. I mean, the people in England, all of them, the vast majority of British people wanted to be out. The only ones that voted against it was the migrants in London, because 90% are migrants, and they were imported votes. They wanted us out of there. That's why it was headlines in their newspapers to get out, their newspapers, right? So when we get out, Europe is crumbling. It's done deliberately. Right? Now they can turn around and say it was the Brits getting out that's caused Europe to collapse. Yeah. That's what they'll do. Okay. The next step is this. The next step, over the last 40, 50 years, their plan was to get rid of all British industry, from the shipyards to Parsons, engineers. They had to get rid of all of it. How could they do that without getting the people really angry? Well, it was quite easy. You import millions of people, you give them money to buy houses and cars, and they build houses everywhere. That's a false economy, you're saying? But they print money to do it. Now they've closed for shipyards, everything's gone. Now they make it look as though the Japanese are the ones that's clever at everything, including motorbikes and cars and everything, where kids have been dumbed down. And the next step is now they're going to stop printing money. They're going to stop it.
For sure, for sure.
Right? And all your building sites will start to close down. At what point they'll do this, I'm not quite sure. But they won't let me exit. They won't let me exit for quite a while yet. Because your Labour Party, the Communists, or whatever you want to call them, and the Tories are all the same. They've taken over all governments. They're in control of all governments from the highest level to the lowest level. They're in full control. They are controlling the whole thing. Again, they're using immigrants as a weapon to destroy the British economy, destroy the British culture. And if people don't like that, well, it's just hard lines, because that's what's taking place. That's what's happening. It's not my imagination. It's there. It's in front of them.
Okay, John, we have to talk again. This has flown by, and now we've got Zoom sorted. Say in about 3 weeks.
If I'm still here, yeah.
Would you come on and do another show? Pardon?
If I'm still here, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope you are still here. You haven't got any plans to go anywhere.
Well, it's not a question whether I've got plans. It may be somebody else may have plans for us.
Well, even if you don't believe, I'll say a prayer that you're okay.
Well, I'll put it this way. According to the Egyptians, if you look, I'm the best counter-terrorist expert in the world.
Yeah, I'd say you are. I think you are. You're an absolute mine of information. Just one more time before we close, just give your email address again and to get your book, which is called 16 One Step Beyond.
Yeah, it's John Urwin. John at ucsdefense.com. That's defense spelled with a C.
Okay, and Urwin, for anybody that Googles John's work there's a lot of interviews and a lot of information as well. It's John Urwin with a U. Yeah. And for myself, I'm just going to close up the show now. I want to thank Biggie for producing. I want to thank the viewers for being patient with us for the technical problems at the beginning. And you can contact me either through CCN or find me on Facebook, Angela Power Disney, and my website will be up in about a week. So that's it. It's been a brilliant show, and 2-3 weeks, God willing, I haven't even started asking you questions because I'm just fascinated to listen. But we'll connect again, and thank you very much, John.
Talk about in any subject you like, from space to what we are, how we got here, right?
Yeah, and down personally as well. Like, people want to know things like, I believe we're transitioning to a cashless society very soon. There's loads we can talk about. But look, until next time, John, thank you. And thanks to Jonathan as well for helping you get set up.
Well, like I said, I was treating it just like Skype. Unfortunately,
I know. I had the same.
For some reason, it went off. It went off for whatever reason.
We got there in the end. We'll talk to you again soon. And God bless. Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right. God bless. Bye-bye.